I often don't talk to others about being a Christian. I am scared about what they will think of me. You're a Christian? I'm going to stay away from you. You're a part of a religion that has caused so many injustices in the world. Christianity was used to justify slavery, genocide, white supremacy, patriarchy, the suppression of LGBTQIA+ communities, and the destruction of our planet. You support that. No one has outwardly said this to me, but when I do say I am a Christian, I feel like they are when they say back, "Oh, okay." Part of this feeling comes from learning about how certain Christian theologies have been connected to negative consequences. I've learned how missionaries have robbed indigenous communities of their traditional practices and sovereignty. As we might remember from our high school history class, Manifest Destiny was a concept that the great America should expand westward to civilize the wilderness. By deeming Western life as superior, Americans justified that they could do whatever they wanted with the land to advance the empire, including the people already residing on it. As an environmental studies major, I have consistently seen the damaging impact Christianity has on the earth. In Environmental Humanities 113, I had a discussion section about a piece by the Enlightenment thinker John Locke. Locke was notable during his time and brought ideas about what were the rights and duties of a man. In his publication, The Second Treatise of Government, he discusses his interpretation of Genesis 1:28. God, when he gave the world in common to all mankind, commanded man also to labor. The penury of his condition required him of it. God in his reason commanded him to subdue the earth, improve it for the benefit of life, and therein lay out something upon it that was his labor. God gave the world to men in common, but since he gave it to them for their benefit and the greatest conveniences of life, they are capable to draw from it. It cannot be supposed he meant it should always remain common and uncultivated. He gave it to the use of the industrious and irrational, and labor was to be his title to it, not to the fancy or covetousness of the quarrelsome and contentious. Thoughts started circling in my head. Is this what Christianity is? To violently control the earth for human benefit? To pollute the waters, tear down ancient forests, and kill animals who dare protect their children? Environmentalism has taught me to care for creation. According to the Bible, I have to govern and restrain the untamed wilderness. How can I be a Christian and care for the earth? As stated by Alia, Genesis 1:28 states, God blessed them, and God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the air, over every living thing that moves on the earth." Multiply, fill, subdue, dominion. These words fill me with negative sensations. In preparation for the sermon, I felt uncertain about the outcome. These words I heard in the text clearly said that God created a hierarchy in which people were above the earth, destined to conquer and control it. But then I started to dive deeper. When God gave humans the right to subdue the earth, God did not necessarily mean that. God gave humans the right to till and keep the earth. This means to perform agriculture. In other words, theologian Thomas Mann writes in his book, The Book of the Torah, that God allows humans to plant and harvest food from the earth so they can survive and flourish. God indeed created people in the relationship with the rest of creation. But this did not mean, as man states, the little lord of the universe. Man instead says that the Creator gave us the role of protecting the sacredness of creation, to nurture it. Creation, just like us, is the Garden of Eden, a divine being. Life is sacred. We are meant to keep the earth in God's image. Indeed, God looks upon it after each day of creation in Genesis and said, "It was good." If it is good, should we not be kind to it? Should we not care for it the way God made it? We have a lot to learn from our indigenous siblings who long cared for the lands we live on for generations before we were here, To expand this idea, I want to show a short clip from an interview with Robin Wall Kimmer. Kimmer is an enrolled member of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation and a UW-Madison alumni. She's a teaching professor at the State University of New York and founder of the Center for Native Peoples and the Environment. Most notably, she is the author of Gathering Moss and Braiding Sweetgrass. Both are a series of essays blending her life story and how it was interpreted by traditional ecological knowledge in Western science.
So I wonder if you can share a story or two of how you personally experience or demonstrate gratitude and reciprocity in your own place, in your own home place.
Mm-hmm. To me, gratitude is a fundamental way of interacting with the rest of the world. When you look at the rest of the world not as property, not as something to which you're entitled, but as a gift. And if you it's allied with this notion of the personhood of all other beings, that what we as scientists might say are their ecological niche functions, their ecological roles, you can also view as gifts. These are contributions that those species are making to the whole ecosystem. And what can we do but be grateful? We as human people know what happens. If you give me a gift, that changes everything, right? That opens the door to reciprocity, that I want to give you something in return. I want to honor you the way that you have honored me. So there's nothing, I think particularly revolutionary about this idea. We as human people know how to do this. We know what to do when we receive a gift. We're grateful, and it opens the door to reciprocity. And I think that notion of gratitude is so important because, like my Haudenosaunee neighbors, like the Potawatomi people, who start every day and have an fundamental orientation to gratitude, it reminds you every single day that you already have everything that you need. Against this backdrop of the materialist worldview and marketing that's constantly hammering in your ear, you need more, and so you take more. But if you're reminded every day that you have everything that you need, then that helps create a culture of self-restraint, of not taking more. If the example I like to use is that, you would no more go to your grandmother's house and start rifling through her cupboards for the cookies. You wouldn't do that because it's profoundly disrespectful. But that's what we do because we don't realize that we're essentially living in our grandmother's house. And so that notion of being in reciprocity and being in gratitude is something I think that we deeply need, not only materially, but I think we need it culturally and spiritually because of the way that it fills you up.
Kimmer states that creation is a gift, a carefully crafted gift. We see this in Genesis. Every day, God creates something new, each one uniquely loved, from the wood violet to the redwood forest, in preparation for something special, people. I like to imagine that God was covering our eyes. "Are you ready?" they said to Adam and Eve. God lifted their hands to reveal a bountiful world. "Look what I created," as sunshine spills over the ominous mountains and glistens on the rivers. "Take delight and cherish it. Now, if someone worked tirelessly to create a beautiful piece of art, you wouldn't throw it away. You would cherish it, love it, and take care of it. Nature is the same. It is also worth looking back at the creation of humans specifically. Genesis 2:7 states, God formed humans from the dust of the ground. Man relates this to Ash Wednesday. Every year, we paint dust on our heads and our hands, remembering our relationship with the earth. The earth is where we come from and where we will return to. Just like the womb we start in, the earth is our mother. Our father, Adam, meaning human or humanity, is not far from Adamah, meaning ground, soil, and land. We are dirt. Our elders are the air. Our sisters are the waters. Our brothers are the trees. The birds, fish, and all land creatures are our siblings. God calls us to be stewards of the land she has provided for us. They bless us with beauty and welcome us to use it. not to overfish the seas, but enough to feed us at the dinner table so coral reefs may thrive, not to chop down acres of forests, but enough to build homes that keep us warm so the birds may sing sweetly. These are for our kin. It is our duty as Christians to protect our family. With climate change, plastic pollution, biodiversity loss, and more, it is our calling as Christians to listen to the groanings of all of creation. So take action, my relatives. When you see the earth cry, care for it. When you fill your belly full of delicious vegetables, remember to look at your sibling, the elk and walleye, who cannot survive without fresh grass to forage and fresh waters to swim in. Just as you would care for your grandmother, care for them too. Think about what you consume and how that would impact them. When I see the latest iPhone, I want to get it. But at what cost? Why pollute the waters with toxins to replace something that already works? God intends humans to be in a caring relationship with all of creation. There was a time when we were all immediately impacted by our surroundings, and thus more aware of how our actions affected one another. It is our time to remember how God created us concerning all of creation, not above as a domineering force, but as an equal. To reestablish this relationship, Christians must return to be stewards of the land through simple practices, such as composting, using fewer materials, and teaching others about the earth's importance, but also to take bigger action. Tell your government officials and large corporations to implement solutions by voting. This November is an important election for the future of the United States. We must vote for the protection of our planet, but we also must act locally. Local elections are just as important, if not even more, as they impact our daily lives. Whether climate change gets talked about in our local school districts, how affordable housing and transportation is, and how clean our lakes are, local elections determine these outcomes and are essential for sustainability. The earth is our home, our gift, our family. We must do whatever we can to save it. Being at Press House, I've challenged my assumptions about Christianity. I now see Jesus' love is radical. He sits with the outcasts, the oppressed, and the oppressors, and talks openly about systems of injustice. I have become more comfortable with my religious affiliation. I can now say proudly, I am a Christian, for the Jesus I know is one of the most beautiful people I will ever know. My exploration of Scripture's passages, like the creation story in Genesis, has deepened my understanding that loving God means loving all of creation, and that we cannot treat our fellow siblings like commodities to be exploited. Our well-being is dependent on their well-being. We are all connected as part of God's creation, one of the greatest gifts of all time. Because of this, we must nurture and protect creation so it can blossom. For when we do, we blossom as well. I leave us today in prayer about spring by Wendy J. Jansen from the Burning Bush Forest Church. Let us pray. As winter gives us over to spring on this vernal equinox day, may we all find balance between light and dark, rest and activity, body and spirit. In this time of great unknowing, may we trust the earth's wisdom. In this time of scarcity, may we experience abundance. In this time of distancing, may we trust in God's presence. May we awaken like bulbs and buds to this new reality and rise to the occasion. May each green shoot pushing out through the brown leaves be a beacon of hope for such a time as this. Amen.